What is going on? I'm back again. This guy in the garage today. I was getting the car ready for storage this winter, so I was just throwing the winter tires on because I don't want to park it on the summers. But I also went out for a drive to WCT Performance today, and my guys hooked me up. So I got some stage 2 inserts for my BFI engine mount, and I also got the stage 2 Dogbone insert. I already have the stage 1 Dogbone and the stage 1 engine mounts, but I'm deciding to upgrade them both to stage 2 because over the winter I'm putting a vortex on this, as you may know already. So yeah, it's time to get the mounts upgraded. The only thing that hasn't been done is the transmission mount, but I am looking at doing that eventually as well. So yeah, gonna go ahead and I'm probably gonna do the Dogbone insert first because that's the easier of the two. So I'll get under the car and get some footage under there. So here we are under the vehicle. Got my Milwaukee Impact with a 22 mil socket on it. It's a pretty easy install. We're just gonna go ahead and zip that old bolt out and take out the old mount. Just like that. Here's a little side-by-side comparison of the stage 1 insert compared to the stage 2. Clearly a little bit of a size difference here. That would make up for the extra stiffness. Not to mention the rubber itself is actually stiffer. While I was taking the original insert out, I busted one of the arms off, so it was getting a little brittle as it was already. But yeah, so this one feels much more solid compared to the old one. So I'm interested to see how that's gonna affect the vibrations. Because I know with the stage 1, I really didn't have much vibration at all, besides maybe having the car in reverse with the AC on, you'd feel a little bit of something. Anyway, go ahead and throw in, well, I'm gonna lube this up a little bit before I slide it in there just to make it go in a little bit easier, and then throw a dab of anti-seize on the new bolt. I know that's probably going to change the torque spec of the bolt a little bit, but really not too worried about it. It'll still stay in there, and that's what I did with the original one, and the original one came out with no issues. So go ahead, do that, and throw the new insert in, and go from there. All right, so underneath the car now, I'm gonna go ahead and see if I actually didn't even put any lube on it. I'm just gonna see if I can get it to kind of work its way in there itself without any convincing. Shouldn't be too bad. Just kind of wiggle it around here a little bit. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna play with this for a couple minutes and get it in there because there's gonna be a cut to get the back piece in. Then I'll be back. Back under the car again. I've got the anti-seize on the bolt, and I've got the bushing and the washer on the bolt as well. I got the mount pushed in there as far as I could. I didn't really want to beat on it with a hammer or anything, but I'm sure you probably could to get it pushed in the rest of the way. Just gonna put the bolt in, slowly tighten it up and see, and it should just bring that mount in where I need it to be. But yeah. So bolt goes in, the torque spec is, I believe, 75 foot-pounds plus a quarter turn or something like that. I'll go ahead and put all the actual torque specs in the description or on the screen, but I believe it's 75 foot-pounds. So I'm gonna go ahead and torque it down now, and then we'll be done with the Dogbone insert. Okay, so the Dogbone is all complete now. I'm heading on to taking the engine mounts out and replacing the inserts. So I went ahead and placed my jack underneath of the oil pan there. It's I kind of have it like right where the drain plug is on that ridge. That seems to be the most stable point. So I went ahead and I took some weight on the jack for the engine. I'm gonna go up top now and start busting some of the bolts loose from it. In terms of getting to the engine mount itself, if you still have the washer fluid reservoir here, I believe that has to come out as well. I have the racing line relocation, so I don't need to take any of that out. The coolant overflow tank will have to come out though. That's easy. I'm just going to disconnect this connector. It's held in by a little push clip here. There's also a push clip holding it in from the bottom, and then these tubes are going to come out of here. There is a clip on this one, but you should be able to figure out how to get that off. It's not too hard. I just can't do it with one hand. But yeah, those two hoses, connector, and then pretty much just pull that out, and then that'll give you enough wiggle room to just kind of twist that out of the way without having to disconnect the lines themselves. And then you have all the access you need to get to the engine mount. Engine mount's pulled out and torn apart now. The inserts sit inside of the mount of the actual block that inserts into the mount faces up on the bottom, and the top one faces down, so they kind of sandwich into each other. For the bolts themselves, the two large bolts mounting into the body from the engine mount, they're 19 millimeters, and keep in mind that the bolt that is closer to the back of the vehicle doesn't have a shoulder on it, and the one that is closer to the front of the vehicle does have a shoulder on it. So don't mix the two bolts up, although they probably won't go into the threads properly, so you'll notice. And then I had them backwards. So the two bolts that go to the body are the 15 mils, and then the two bolts that go to the engine themselves are the 19 mils, and then the pinch bolt that goes on the little arm extension is a 13 mil bolt. The torque specs for all those are, so for the engine mount to the body, which is these two, 35 foot-pounds. Then the engine mount top bolt, which is the bolt that holds the inserts together, which is this guy here. Oh wait, no, this guy. He is a 6 millimeter Allen head, and that is 35 foot-pounds as well. And then the engine mount to the engine mount bracket, which are, I believe, those two guys, 45 foot-pounds. And then the pinch bolt is 20 newton meters, which is not very much. So I'm gonna put the stage 2 inserts in, put that all back together, put it in the vehicle, get everything hand tightened in here, and start jacking the engine up a little bit until the two surfaces mate, like the engine surface mates to the actual mount itself. And then I will torque the bolts all down and drop the jack down. Well, that's everything all torqued up and in place now. I've got Sharpie marks on all the bolts to show the torque of them, to make sure nothing comes loose while I'm driving. All that jazz. Actually, the Sharpie marks that were still on the mount from when I had the stage 1 inserts on there, generally most of them lined up again when I put the bolts back in, so that's a good sign in my eyes that everything's torqued correctly. So yeah, the stage 2 inserts are in there now. Everything feels much stiffer. Like I can't even rock the engine anymore, whereas before I could give it a little bit of a wiggle. So stage 2 Dogbone insert, stage 2 engine mount inserts. Transmission mounts, unfortunately, they're still stock, but I'm looking at upgrading those to stage 2 as well before the turbo goes on, so everything will be stage 2 and have all the vibrations and be a race car, because you know it's how it goes with these Volkswagens. They just vibrate like hell once you get the mounts put on them. But yeah, so I'm gonna throw the overflow tank back on, connector on, get the car off the jacks, take it for a little bit of a test drive, make sure it all feels good, make sure everything's vibrating like it's supposed to. But yeah, other than that, that's it for this install. So thanks for watching. That's gonna be most of the content for this season of the Mk7R, because I mean it's going into storage this weekend, and next step is going to be putting the turbo on, which is on its way in the mail, because if you guys didn't know already, the boost weather sale for EQT is currently going on, so I managed to scoop my Vortex up. So yeah, all that's left really for that build will be the fuel rail. And once I get the fuel rail and the injectors, oh, and the manifold as well, the Euro manifold, then that'll be all the parts I need for the build, and it'll just be a matter of putting it together and getting the tune done. So I'm excited for that. Hopefully this thing will be ripping next summer. Yeah. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video.